It's all good, dude. Why don't we start right there? For the second week since we're doing the XFL Mark, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do to brighten your spirits? Right now, to brighten your spirits. We don't need the 50 subscribers on YouTube. You're upset with yourself, and I want to make you feel better. So here's what I'm going to do, Reed. Here is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to my Twitter profile right now. Okay?
This has been a disappointing morning. We just found out for the second time in 9 weeks that I wasn't recording the video portion of this podcast when we started. I had a whole bit calling out Paul for claiming that he was 95% of the personality on the XFL Markcast.
That's not fake news. That's not fake news.
I was so proud of all of that too, but we can never recreate it.
You were so proud of it, and I was so annoyed that I was like, oh my God.
It's almost better than that. It's almost better.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say, you know what, let's record this tomorrow night because I'm upset now. But see, maybe this was all a ploy because Reed was upset right now. And this is why I'm showing 95% of the personality on this podcast. Reed was so upset right now because he was busting my chops about not having the XFL Wildcats in my Twitter bio. So there you go. You don't even need 50 subscribers on YouTube. It's right there on the verified account just for you, Reed. Let's stop complaining about it. Let's do something else, though. Let's do something else. If we get 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel, I'm going to send 3 shirts to I'm going to send 1 shirt apiece to 3 of the subscribers on YouTube. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm going to eat the cost on this. I will send 1 shirt to 3 of our YouTube subscribers when we hit 100 subscribers on YouTube.
And you can go, that's great. You can go to xflshow.com/YouTube. That's a nice, easy URL I've made out. xflshow.com/YouTube. Takes you right there. Because we don't have enough, we haven't existed long enough. It's all a bunch of numbers and stuff.
And that's the reason why we want the 100 subscribers. Because once we get the 100 subscribers, we get the custom name. So anyway, long story short, Reed was trying to do a stupid petition. He's in a bad mood now because he screwed up everything. So to make him feel better, to boost his spirits, to improve morale here on the XFL Markcast, I decided to give him what he wanted and added XFL Wildcats fan to my Twitter bio. I hope he's happy. And I hope that you'll subscribe to us on YouTube so that Reed's efforts to get me to add that are all for naught. Again, I will send 1 shirt to 3 different people if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.
This is for the public.
Do you feel better now?
I feel good. I was so proud of that bit, though. I was so proud that I had, long story short, I was scouring Twitter this morning, trying to update my Twitter bio, and I discovered the fact that Paul had put in his Twitter bio that he was 95% of the personality on the XFL Markcast.
Okay.
And if Dorothy is listening to this, I'm sure she's long either turned it off or fallen off her spin bike now listening to this. But yeah, Paul had put
the joke isn't funny the second time around though either.
I was so proud. On the outtakes, we'll have an audio version.
You know what's going to happen? And we're going to play that little incident. We're going to play that probably 15 minutes into our Wheelhouse podcast. What just happened? Because 10 minutes of the Wheelhouse podcast puts you to sleep anyway, Reed. So you won't be able to be awake when we play that bit and make fun of you for doing the same thing twice.
Wouldn't know it. Yep, would never hear it. Anyway, we got a lot of news today. We got a lot of XFL news. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's get into it. I've heard a lot. I've read a lot this week, watched a lot of videos about the XFL stuff. 2022 spring. What do you think about it?
I think this is a great idea. It's a fan-centric league, and I feel like a broken record right now. It's a fan-centric league. I think that it's we're in a situation where we're worried about the pandemic, and if we rush things, then maybe the pandemic isn't away in 2021. And because it's a fan-centric league, they definitely want the fans in the stadium, and I think that this is the best way to go about making sure that happens is to put it off for another year.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to talk to Dorothy too about it, because it said, like MLB and like soccer and the NBA, like they got money and deals, and like they can do all this. They don't need to have fans there. They got TV rights and all that. Like XFL, even in the original agreement, they were making up a ton of the costs with, butts in the seats, selling stuff at the games, selling merch at the games. We would go to like CenturyLink. There'd be a line around the block people trying to get, merchandise. I don't know why they didn't just order it online, but it's a lot of that in the concessions and stuff. And you just can't run. I mean, I think you could run a bubble league, but clearly they don't want to do that. I think we had hoped that they would, really rush it and do it this year. We want to have it this year, but yeah, it's technically, theoretically 493 days until the XFL 2022 launch. And we will be posting episode number 79 of the Markcast the Friday before the XFL 22 launch, if it is the Saturday after the Super Bowl.
Here's what we're basically saying. We want to thank our content providers, the people we steal stuff from or plagiarize or whatever. We want to thank them for keeping us afloat during this difficult time, and hopefully they keep pumping out the content. We want to thank all of them, like from XFL Newsroom and XFL News Hub, I believe it is. All the stuff we talk about. Keep the stuff coming, please. And if we have any stuff, we'll share it with you as well. We share and share alike. So hopefully we have enough content to discuss. And I was really happy about the news. I'm glad they're doing it, and I'm hoping even if the Wildcats decide to leave LA, which could happen, Van. I know. Even if they do, I'll still stay a Wildcats fan.
So they were talking. I mean, now I think the key to now is they were going to do it in, let's say they were going to do it in 2021. I think people just thought, okay, you're going to turn the light switches back on and like everyone's going to be there. Clearly, that's not the case, right? We're going to wait. So now, we might get new coaches. We're definitely going to get different teams, new teams, kind of everything. I mean, it just really like shakes everything up. I think people thought, everyone's just kind of hanging around. I know we've talked about that. There had been interviews out where only like 10% of the staff that had been hired by the XFL had found new jobs since the layoff, just because of, COVID and obviously everything. And so I think now it's definitely going to kind of just revamp everything. I think there's just potential to have, a totally new teams, totally new star players for everybody. I mean, it's just not going to be just turning everything back on and going again.
Right. And, there's so many hires they need to make again. And who knows, maybe I know that there's we got to talk about Oliver Luck here in a second, but I know that there's maybe there's a chance they settle that lawsuit and The Rock and his team can convince Oliver Luck to come back. Maybe that's another positive benefit of the delay. Of course, we talked about this before Reed discovered he was not recording. We talked about the fact that maybe they're going to produce a lot of content, a lot of behind the scenes documentary, and with all of the over the top streaming services that are coming out, like Peacock for NBC, AMC TV has their own over the top streaming service too, where you can watch, I guess, episodes of Better Call Saul before they're on AMC or something like that.
What is AMC? Can we stop down? What is AMC doing? The Walking Dead came back this week, right? Mm-hmm. It had been off because like they hadn't, they were in whatever season 87 or whatever, and they hadn't finished like recording, and COVID shut them down. So they aired the stuff that they had aired. Then they came back for like a super long finale episode. But now I find out AMC is ending in 2 years, but they're doing the spinoff with Carol and Daryl. So I'm like, what is happening here? And now there's another spinoff. It's like the world of The Walking Dead, or there was Fear of the Walking Dead, and now there's like Beyond the Walking Dead, and it's like teenagers in a high school. Dumb.
Yeah.
AMC needs to figure it out.
There's so many spinoffs now. I will say this: Better Call Saul is great. I thought
that's one, but that's one of. I mean, but that was scary. I mean, that worked out. It worked out, but that could have been bad too.
Spinoffs work out when it's not a major character, and I don't think Saul Goodman was a real major character in the Breaking Bad universe. Where, like, for example, when we compare it, and I know we're getting off on a tangent here, but this is where the 95% of my personality takes over on this podcast. We get off on these tangents where, like on Cheers, we had a spinoff called Frasier. Frasier wasn't a major character. Like if it had been Norm, it wouldn't have worked. If it had been Diane or Kirstie Alley's character, Rebecca, it wouldn't have worked. But it worked because it was Frasier, because it was a guy that we didn't see that much on Cheers. And that's why the spinoff worked. That's why Joey didn't work from Friends.
I was just going to say that. That's why Joey didn't work.
That's why it didn't work, because he was a major character. So I think that a spinoff with Daryl, probably not a good idea.
No, I mean, we need content, right? XFL, there's going to be, because we were talking about, before, trying to find the network, maybe there would be like a streaming platform, maybe Netflix wants to get into the live sports, maybe Hulu wants, I mean, we've talked about this, that, would the XFL be worse off on Hulu than on like FS3 or whatever? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think that at some point, you kind of got to look at your options, and maybe they're smart that way. And they're going to produce this behind the scenes, like let us get to know some of the coaches, some of the players. I just don't think it's going to be a hard start, February 12th or whatever, 2022, like, okay, XFL content, visual watching stuff starts. I mean, I think there's going to be stuff for months and months leading up to it, and interviews and behind the scenes and all that.
And you bring up a good point, because Hulu does do live sports. You can watch any Premier League soccer game on Peacock. Maybe this is the only avenue that Netflix is not touching right now. This is the only thing they're not doing right now. I mean, they're getting indicted in a court of law in Texas for that Cuties movie, but they're not touching live sports. So maybe, just maybe, this is maybe an avenue for Netflix. That would be tremendous. That would be tremendous exposure for both Netflix to get into the live sports game, and for the XFL to be on the #1 streaming service.
Well, and The Rock is filming that movie right now for Netflix, or a show or whatever. Huh?
Yeah, he's already got a relationship with Netflix.
Well, I don't think you could be worse off than it was great when the games were on like Fox or whatever, or ESPN, but then by like week 5 when it was on, you couldn't even find the channel. No, but lots of stuff, lots of articles. But yeah, 493 days, 72 or 79 episodes until the Markcast. What article do we want to tackle first today?
Let's talk about COVID. We could talk about COVID, the reason why we're probably not getting XFL till 2020. And there's some COVID news around the league of NFL.
I saw that more today, right?
Yeah, we had another Titan player test positive for it.
And the Raiders player too.
I didn't see the Raiders player.
Raiders, they had the Titans. And see, now they're getting into trouble because they were like trying to do bye weeks, right? And rejigger. And now we're like,
yeah.
It's getting a little dicey.
So, of course, Jordan Temu is positive for COVID. Yeah. We discovered that, I think, shortly after we recorded last week's episode.
Yeah, I think it came out on Friday. It might have come out the day the episode aired. Yeah.
Yeah, that was we dropped an episode. And we had like all this news happen, and I had to actually come in and put this little disclaimer on the episode, like, hey, this was recorded before we found out that the XFL was coming back in 2022. And then we also saw that Jordan Temu had tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, we record on Wednesdays generally. And so, yeah, when the XFL breaks news on Thursdays, it's not good. It's really not good for our recording schedule.
Yeah. I wish they would coordinate with us.
It really would be great.
They could even come on the Markcast and announce that they're going back in 2022. We'd love that. Hey, Dwayne. Come on the Markcast. Come on the Markcast.
Speaking of the NFL stuff, and that was something that was really interesting that I don't think we had talked about was, you had this NFL stuff, we're delaying games, whatever. Maybe they're going to ultimately have to delay, parts of the season, right? Or like extend stuff out. And that's going to, could potentially push back the Super Bowl, the playoffs, all sorts of things. And Mike Mitchell was on the News Hub this week talking with Mark, and they had said, if the NFL wants to delay, this, hey, we got to do the Super Bowl the next week, networks aren't going to care, right? Okay, that's fine, right? We'll do it, whatever you guys got to do. But if the XFL is scheduled, hey, we're launching the Saturday after the Super Bowl, and then they move the Super Bowl, and then the XFL goes, hey guys, so actually we're going to need to push our stuff. Like, they're not going to care at all. And so, it's almost. And maybe that was part of the speculation too, where they decided, hey, we don't even know if the NFL is going to get through in, 20, whatever the weeks are, with all the delay, like the gap weeks or whatever. But like, maybe the XFL just said, hey, we just need to have a clean start next year when we know that we can start for sure on this date. Because you don't know. I know the Super Bowl is set, whatever. We don't know if that's going to be, it might not actually happen on that day.
Right. So, and then, I think to Ocho Cinco's point that he discussed, I think what the NFL is bound and determined to have a Super Bowl. If they have to play a Super Bowl on Easter Sunday, they're going to do that. And I think that's the situation that we're seeing with pro sports, is that they're going to have their finals no matter what. They're going to anoint a champion. And I think we need that as a society, is to have those champions. And I know people are, poo-pooing on the idea that, it's only a 60-game season at MLB. Who's, is this really a championship? Again, I keep going back to the idea that whoever wins the championship this year, whether it be the Los Angeles Dodgers or the New York Yankees, whoever wins the championship this year will be more of a champion than the 2017 Houston Astros.
So this is true. So I just, we have a wedding coming up in November, and I always send them like a hey, fill this, kind of stuff out. And they linked their wedding website on there, and it was talking about them. And they're like, I can't remember if it was the bride or groom. They're like, huge Houston Astros fan. I was like, Paul would be so pissed if he knew.
It's not that I hate all Astros fans, but I hate the ones that are like, yeah, we cheated and what? And they stay banging garbage cans at spring training. It's like, bro, come on, man. I guess steering to the skid, but at the same time, like, your entire championship season in 2017 is not valid to like 95% of baseball fans. And most of those Houston Astro fans, I'm going to tell a story. Okay. I'm going to tell a story because I tell stories on Wheelhouse, and Reed doesn't listen to it because he falls asleep after 10 minutes. But there's a friend of mine that I have on Facebook. Her name's Jenny, and I'm going to out her for this because this irritates the crap out of me. It irritates the crap out of Nydia, because Nydia is like diehard Dodgers fans. Like, she was born, they wrapped her in a Dodgers blanket. She's an Angelino at heart. As long as I've known Jenny, she's been wearing LA Dodgers merchandise. She's been like, LA, a fan of LA, despite I don't think she's really lived here like I've lived here. She's spent her whole life in Texas, but she's been an LA Dodgers fan. So imagine my surprise when the 2017 World Series, she started rooting for the Astros, and I was like, I've known you for like 8 years, and you've been a fan of the Dodgers, and now all of a sudden you're switching it up. I was like, you're done. You can't be a Dodgers fan anymore. You're done.
Wow, just like that.
So anyway, most Astros fans didn't start watching baseball till 2017, and I rest my case. Bandwagoners.
Where are we at here? We've totally lost the ship today.
Because the personality's coming through, and I'm showing you why I'm 95% of the personality. Will listens to our podcast, by the way.
That's good.
He supports this podcast. You don't support his. It's fine. And he says that we're getting better. He says we're improving. So
hard to get worse.
What?
It'd be hard to be worse.
Yeah, it's true.
God bless all these whatever. Let's round this out here. The 2022 XFL newsroom. Our boy James Larson talking about people that listen to the Markcast. James listens. He's written us a review. He's got a mask coming this way. He's going to send us a photo when he does. He's talking about what was the right choice for the XFL. Why 2022 was the right choice. Rushing, not the right idea. Teams can build chemistry before the season, which I think is great. It just would have been tight. It would have been really tight coming in October, trying to get through. It would have been a little rough. And then hopefully COVID-19, won't be a factor next year. We can go back to watching football games. I can go back to my front row seats at Century League Field. It'd be nice. So you think 2022 is the right decision?
I think we all agree on that.
I did post, and we'll get into our wrestling talk later. I posted a poll on my Twitter. I said, biggest disappointment of the week, the XFL 2022 not returning, or the XFL not returning until 2022, or Mustafa Ali being named as the leader of Retribution.
Oh, you already know the answer to that for me.
Well, XFL won 63-36. So I would have thought Mustafa Ali is the lead heel in the new Retribution angle that's been how many months now has it been sucking it up on WWE TV?
Not too long since it started.
But and then this lady that always tweets at me, she goes, XFL being delayed another year is not a problem at all. So,
well, I'm glad we have her approval on it.
Glad we have her approval.
Something we did. I think we should talk about this too. I think we should, since we're kind of on the topic of Dwayne, his endorsement. We should talk about that.
Well, we touched on that. You called people snowflakes. We got a couple thumbs down on our YouTube video. I think that was probably.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think that was probably because of that.
Oh, come on, grow up.
Yeah, I do. I think so. We normally we get all thumbs up. We got one thumbs down for the Chad Ochocinco episode. Maybe they're just a hater, maybe just that's fine. I mean, Chad's probably got ruffled some feathers in his career. But yeah, we had some thumbs down on I have to think it's us talking about The Rock and Biden.
You don't have haters, you're not doing something right. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Will says too. And if you know that, if you listen to more than 10 minutes of Wheelhouse Podcast.
But yeah, I mean, any other follow-up on that? Any other follow-up about the endorsement?
I think people are free to endorse whoever they want to. And that hyper partisan stuff is what got us in this mess to begin with. And I think that let's just let the election play out. Let's not be a-holes to each other about who we're supporting. And let's just, whoever wins, wins. And I'm not going to make any predictions on that. I tried to predict that last time, and then I saw the exit polls, and I went, oh. The minute I saw the exit polls, before they even declared one state had been won, I knew. So let's just let everything play out, and then, the hyper-partisan stuff, that's what's got us in this mess to begin with. It's like we're so polarized.
Well, and The Rock, you should watch the XFL. I don't let that be. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, The Rock is going to be like a shareholder. I mean, he's not going to be as much as we think that it's like I don't think they're going to be as the face of the thing as I think a lot of people do. I mean, I think that The Rock's going to come in, he's going to tweet at stuff, he's going to voice stuff. He voiced the big 2022 promo video with Danny, right? They voiced that. But I just think that I mean, like I said, I've watched WWE for years. Do I think Vince McMahon is the greatest guy in the world? Not necessarily, but that doesn't mean that I don't support the guys that are in the ring and support the people that are doing everything. And it's the same with the XFL, whether you agree with The Rock or not, and that's great. And please, have your own whatever, but it shouldn't stop you from supporting the players. You just want to see the guys get playtime, get tape, get to the NFL, get success in the XFL, do whatever, right? It shouldn't stop you from wanting to see, PJ Walker and Jordan Teamu and everybody else get success, right?
We don't want to see Cardell Jones get any success, but
except Cardell Jones. Cardell Jones. That is the only. Please direct all of your any rash feelings you are feeling about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson endorsing Joe Biden. Please direct that to @CJ1TWO at Twitter.
You called him soft yesterday. SAWFT.
You did. That's where you started.
I started that?
Yeah, you called him. You quoted Enzo More, and you called him SAWFT soft.
I've decided to call Cardell Jones Charmin Jones from here on out. Because he's Charmin soft.
I did give him a 1-star review on Book Cameo for his review. I did. I said he blocked us on all social media. We were trying to do a joke, but on the other side of it, we had as a follow up to our Cole Boozer. We had the big skit last week, the big bit that we were going to get Cole Boozer, send him a shirt. We had him do the Markcast. He didn't know what podcast he was listening to. He called it the Marketcast. We all had tons of laughs. Cole Boozer, he's probably going to come on the podcast next week. He loves it. He thinks we have a great time. We're sending him a shirt right now. It's in transit. Cole's he's gonna take a photo with the shirt, and then we're gonna donate. He wants to donate the money to the Shriners Hospital of Philadelphia.
We'll do.
So I think that's great. Once we get, we got to make sure it's all official, Cole. Got to make sure it's official.
I feel like Cole's a stand-up guy.
Well, he's a 5-star rated, cameo on Book Cameo at a minimum. So that is.
Charmin's only 1, but he's 5. Cole's 5.
But and I was thinking too, and we can talk more about this next week, maybe with Cole. Maybe we'll get a little more eyeballs on that episode. But I think maybe we should sell the We Stand Cole Boozer. We have it at the shop, but maybe next week, if Cole wants to come on, if anybody wanted to buy a We Stand Cole Boozer shirt, we could donate that portion of the shirt that we would have made like money wise, add that to the total, something like that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Not, we're not trying to bankrupt ourselves here, but I think that like, I know, right, the thing works where we get some money and then other covers the cost or whatever. So maybe next week with Cole, we can talk about that, but try to sell some We Stand Cole Boozer shirts and then donate that.
And those proceeds will go directly to Shriners of Philadelphia. Let's do that.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
But Cole's a stand-up guy. I think we're going to try to get him on next week. I knew that we had too much stuff with the XFL and everything this week and the 2022. And I said, I think we want to really feature you. We can have the Cole Boozer episode, right? And it'll be, as opposed to We Stand Cole Boozer ? Maybe the episode could be Cole Boozer stands us.
That would be a first. For anyone to stand me, that'd be a first.
That would be a first.
So moving on here now, I saw this and I was like, oh, interesting. Apparently the XFL is contacting their former players, which is great. Great. And I think that like, what do the players do in the meantime now that they're waiting till 2022?
I know. Did you see, where's the letter? I wanted to read why am I not going to, here we go. I got a tweet from Bruno Reagan that said players got a nice email today. No extra deals to share, but just happy to know what the overall plan is. Yeah, it says October 1st, we hope you and your family are healthy and safe and doing as well as possible during the uncertain and difficult time. Earlier today, we announced the XFL would return to the field in 2022. We're going to take our time to ensure we build a league of culture, passion, and purpose with the benefit of our players first, coaches, staff, partners, and fans. Given the uncertainty of public health environment, the 2022 relaunch will provide a safe game day experience for everybody. And like you said before, that means, getting fans into the building. Our 2022 season will rise on the foundations you helped establish, the players that are getting the email, which is why we want to thank you. And it says visit xfl.com. Thank you, Danny, Dwayne, and Jeffrey Pollock, who, breaking news, kind of, it's been rumored for a while, but is still very much with the XFL. I know we had talked about, is he going to stay on as president or COO or whatever? But yeah, Jeffrey is still involved. And I think he's going to be a key, part of the team here moving forward. I completely agree. And with that being said, they have I guess on XFL News Hub, they've broken down kind of how this would work in terms of, I guess, timeline. Am I reading this correctly? Yeah. So I think we talked about this before we started recording and talking about how. Before you started recording? Yeah. So Mike Mitchell was on this week on the podcast with Mark, and he's heard that a lot of the hires are going to not be until June, which made me kind of scream in my head as someone that does a weekly XFL. Scream inside your heart. Yeah. Scream inside your heart to prevent COVID. Well, if we're waiting on hires until June, that's a lot of weeks between now and October till June. But basically saying how they got to get the commissioner and stuff. But he is predicting May, June as kind of when you're going to get the coaches and players. Then you would do the draft again in October, like we did last year. Spring or winter training camps in December. Go home for the holidays, come back in January, and then go. Kind of like we did last year. I mean, it seemed like it worked really well, but I think a lot of people, us included, thought, oh, okay, that means we're going to get hires like coming up now. And it's probably not going to be for a little while. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But I mean, at the same time, this idea is too big to rush back, and there's a lot of money that's already been put into this. I mean, I know that in terms of what Vince put into it and in terms of what The Rock and his group put into it to get it from Vince, that's not as much money, that's maybe 5% of what Vince probably put into it. But he never, that's what I never get. He never put all that he supposedly, he never put that much into it. I know. We're spitballing here, but I think that dude, I don't have $20 million to throw around. And if I had, $40 million and put $20 million into the league, I'd want to do it right. And I want to make sure that my investment was recouped. So, again, this is still a big investment, even though it's just kind of a drop in the bucket to what costs to get everything off the ground. It's still a big investment. And I think it's just, doing it the right way. And you're making sure your investment goes to the right, it gets its fulfillment and gets recouped. Well, and they said, I guess Jeffrey Pollock's been quoted, and they said that he views the XFL as a 100-year brand. And so if Well, I'm just quoting. I'm quoting Jeffrey Pollack.
I love the ambition.
But he said that they view it as a 100-year brand, and so basically, what is one extra year in the scheme of the world? And I mean, it's like with COVID, right? What is 1 year in all of our lives? We didn't really get to do anything at all. What is 1 year? And at least maybe we'll have other stuff to do waiting for the XFL than we did, this year.
It is insane to think that
it's October.
I just I can't process.
Yeah.
I saw I was looking through my old email, and I actually at some parts of this year has gone really fast, and some parts have gone really slow. Like March seemed like it lasted forever. When everything started shutting down, March was just grinding to a halt. So it was interesting to see the last trip I'd taken. Really, the last trip I'd taken was in January of last year, and then I was looking through my email and I found an old plane ticket when the last time I came and saw you. I was like, that happened a year ago already. So yeah. We won't discuss the particulars of that incident, but yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep it moving.
No, it's I mean, we were supposed to be. Dorothy and I had tickets. We were going to go to Houston for the championship game. They hadn't released the actual tickets to the game yet, but we had flights booked. We had a hotel or Airbnb booked. We were going to go see Alan Walker. I just happened to be playing the night before or 2 nights before the.
Was Kygo playing?
No, but we've seen Kygo a lot, but no, it was going to be, which I actually prefer Alan Walker. They're very similar guys, but I actually prefer Alan Walker's do versus Kygo's like.
How was that? How was that?
They're all those DJs like the do. But I actually prefer the Alan Walker. But anyway, we were going to go. It's crazy to think all the cancel plans and everything between since.
Speaking of Kygo, Dorothy loves the new song, doesn't she?
With Vin Diesel, loves it. Feel like I do.
So does Will. And you'd know that if you listen to more than 10 minutes of Will.
I'll listen this week. You had a guy on from the Dark Knight or something. Batman.
We had Eric Roberts on. Right, that episode dropped Wednesday.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out tomorrow when I run. I'm on it. You guys should do a video version of the podcast, and then I could watch it.
Well, here's the deal. We're holding off showing Will's face until we get to a certain subscriber amount. Which, guess what? We are at 25% of that slated number that Will wants to get to. So yeah, we're definitely going to do a video podcast. Okay. That's coming. So
Will Housen, if anyone wants to follow. Yep. What else do we got here? XFL Newsroom. We kind of talked about this already, but they posted that the XFL trademarks, all the trademarks, all have now officially transferred to The Rock and Danny and whatever. So we should be expecting our cease and desist letter from the use of the XFL logo in our merchandise coming up at some point. But we kind of talked about this, but basically they own all the XFL stuff now. So the Hitmen and the He Hate Me and the Outlaws and all that, they own everything back to 01. It's cool.
That's true. Yeah, I'm seeing that right now.
Yeah, which is cool.
They own all the old stuff too. Maybe bring back some of those names.
Well, at least to be able to sell some old merch would be pretty sick. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Also, the XFL, they're updating the site, right? They've got a new FAQ on about tickets if you're still waiting on refunds. The freaking XFL Dragons are the only team that not all their jerseys are on there to buy. If anybody in the world from the XFL, which they're not, is listening to this podcast, you can go on there right now. You can buy I don't know why you would want a DC Defenders, authentic jersey or a replica jersey.
Why would you want a Sherman Jones jersey?
Well, maybe you want a Cole Boozer on the back, Cole Boozer 69. That's what we would do. But you can't get a Dragons. I have my misprinted one here. And then I have my one replica, but I had to wear my authentic one today because, it's in the wash. But you can't buy. It's the only one. They need to fix that. They have real people now working at the thing. They're updating the site. You need to fix the store. I'm just saying.
I completely agree. Trust me. Issues with online stores are a big problem for Reed.
It is.
I can speak to that personally.
We're still working on. We're getting the hats figured out. Got an email today. We're working on it, getting some new hats going, getting the right stitching on there. So,
and of course, if you want to buy any XFL Markcast merchandise before we get a cease and desist and have to change our logo, please log on to xflshow.com/merch. There he's showing it now.
They're cool hats. They're cool. We're getting them. We got cool shirts. Dorothy loves her tank top. Honestly, like that, the tank top, no joking aside, they're really nice. All the shirts and the tank tops and everything. I mean, it really is a spectacular job. So Paul's got, we all sorts of merch at moxiecash.com or xflshow.com/merch. I'll take you there. So
yeah, both directions will get you there. So moving on. We
got Oliver, another article from XFL Newsroom. We got Oliver Luck, my scorned ex partner, ex girlfriend, just like we've talked in the past. Seeing Oliver Luck doing all this fun stuff is like being broken up with someone and seeing them posting photos with their new beau on social media. Do people still use that word? Their new bae. Oliver Luck is joining the Beautiful Game Group, which is I don't really. So Sportico has this. He's joining the Beautiful Game Group's board of advisors, and I guess this is it. It sounds kind of similar to the Redbird Capital Group, but it's basically like a group of rich people that are going to want to be investing in sports leagues. And kind of the vibe I had gotten trying to look through some of this stuff this morning was, if I'm wrong, or please forgive me, but they're talking about how all these, like a billionaire owns like a sports league, but let's say like all these guys want to get all their money together and have even more money to like have investments in some of these leagues, right? Because there's only
like a hedge fund. It seems like a hedge fund.
Yeah, well, you figure like there's only so many teams, right? There's only so many teams and so many leagues, and like that's why Vince McMahon started the whole XFL in the first place. Was he wasn't rich enough? Sorry, but he wasn't rich enough to buy an NFL team, and that's why he started the XFL. I mean, that's like, isn't that fact at this point that we know that?
I think it's a combination of that, and the NFL is very, very particular on who becomes an owner of a team in its league. I don't think Vince would be allowed to be an owner in the NFL. I just don't. I don't see it. However, I want to throw a hypothetical situation at you right
Please.
now. All right, here we go. Oh, sorry. This is a trade. This is like basically a trade. What would you think if the Khan family,
yep, owners of the Jacksonville Jaguars,
yep, owners of the Jaguars,
AEW,
and owners of AEW. What if the Khans traded the Jaguars to Vince McMahon for WWE? What would you think? Like the Khans own all wrestling.
That's the dumbest. That's never going to happen. They're killing it with AEW.
I know.
Do you think Vince wants a team that bad?
I do. I think Vince wants an NFL team that bad. Well, I really do.
I mean, it's crazy, but no, I mean, I think they're killing it with AEW. I think Vince, I don't know. I think he's kind of given up. I'll never know why he gave up the XFL. We've talked about this in the past. I think if he just would have stuck in there, I think he would have been fine.
Yeah. But again, like we've had our own moral issues in terms of supporting anything Vince McMahon has. So maybe we wouldn't be here if it weren't for this whole move. Maybe not. I don't know. I can't say, but I definitely say that this whole idea that The Rock and his group purchased the XFL has got me more excited about the XFL now than I was when it first was announced, because again, having our moral issues. But yeah, I think, you're right. If he would just stuck the course out, maybe this would have been a different situation.
We honestly probably could have had a season this year. I mean, really, if they just would have furloughed people, but I just don't think he wanted to. It costs a lot of money to furlough people and keep people at home.
And I'm not going to make a political statement about Vince at all. It's clear what side of the partisan divide he's on, given his WWE stance on how he's made that an essential business in Florida, and we've discussed that. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it alone and move on to the next topic.
But anyway, any other thoughts on Oliver Luck? I mean, obviously super intelligent guy. I mean, they want him on. He's on the board of investor, or the board of just the board there of doing stuff.
I hope he would come back. I hope that, maybe again, I brought this up. I think this was probably before we were really recording, that maybe there's a reason why they're waiting till 2022 is maybe to get the lawsuit settled so Oliver Luck can come back. maybe that's a positive. I don't know.
Yeah, and just to round this out, it says that Beautiful Game Group is one of a series of recently formed private equity groups looking to invest in sports team ownership. They're willing to take a passive, limited partner stakes in major franchises, and they also want to develop sports and leagues. It wants to be more active management in cutting costs and adding value over time. So anyway, I mean, Oliver Luck's keeping in there. I thought he was going to be the commissioner of college football. You know, they had him on ESPN earlier talking about COVID.
I think he's been there and done that, though. He has been there and done that. Yeah. Like literally been there and done that. He's already checked that box. So moving on, I this is something that matters to me because I'm very much in the mindset of people getting taken care of in terms of worker rights and stuff like that. So I saw this. Reed sent this over. I was like, I definitely want to get to this. And I think this is a very good thing that a group of former players formed a nonprofit group to advocate for players' rights, kind of like a union. And of course, I know that Vince was not high on unions. He hasn't been high on unions. They tried to unionize wrestling in the 1980s. They should probably try to do it again. Yeah. The idea that they're trying to, form a group to represent player interests in the AAF and XFL. Specifically, I didn't know this. This is insulting that when the AAF folded, the players had to find their own flights home and pay for them. They weren't getting paid that much to begin with.
Yeah, at least the XFL when the guys got, you know, when it ended, they at least got taken care of. I think for the most part, not to drag him in the mud, but I do know that Brandon Silvers did have some sort of issue with his Airbnb, like charging him for the whole 10 weeks he was supposed to be there. I mean, I make fun of the guy, but I do follow him online, and he had mentioned something about, you know, like he obviously cut out early, right? They flew him back home. But they were trying to charge him the whole 10 weeks or whatever that he was supposed to be there. But yeah, no, the XFL did take care of the guys, and they at least paid them through. I don't know if they ended up paying them through the 10 weeks. I think they said they were going to, but I think they at least tried to kind of curtail out the payments a little bit to keep them satisfied. But
I think the reason they curtailed the payments out a little bit is because it was kind of like, and to veer off into wrestling again, it's kind of like how ECW, how Paul Heyman went to work for WWE,
and then there was,
and then there was like a 90-day period, because if you go into bankruptcy, they can legally withdraw any money you've paid to any talent. And so that's why he went to WWE and waited 3 months and then declared bankruptcy. And maybe that's the same situation why, you know, they curtailed the payments out and waited the 90 days and then declared bankruptcy. So no one would go back after the players. But in this AAF situation, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so this is called the United Football Players Association, the UFPA. And you know what you're going to like even more about this organization, Paul?
Or you're going to like this.
They followed me on Twitter this morning. Just out of the
blue. They did. Oh wow! I was going to say the seemed like the guy that's leading this UFPA is Kenneth Farrow.
Of the Dragons.
His name right? Farrow
of the Dragons.
He played for the Dragons, so that's right up your wheelhouse.
Yeah, and they follow me on Twitter now, so follow them back, give them a follow. They're building it up. You know, they don't have too many followers right now. It's brand new.
Send that over to me so I can follow them too.
Yeah, we'll do it. Awesome. Yeah. So anyway, but they got anyway. It's good. I know I've seen Greg Parks write about this too and tweet about this, that he thinks that they need to get some NFL players or personnel involved in this, right? Because it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a union for the minor leagues, right? Okay, but you obviously need to grow this bigger. But it's a good starting point, and yeah, so there you go.
And speaking of former players, I got to put you over here, and I don't want to do this, but this is going to pay me to do. I got to really put you over here, and by putting you over, I mean give you some compliments. You were basically worshiping at the feet of Donald Parham.
Yep,
you've been worshiping at the feet of Donald Parham. You're like, the guy's a beast. He's a hell of a player.
10 feet tall.
You were like kissing. You were licking his boots. And this last week, first NFL touchdown. He's showing he belongs. So we want to congratulate Donald Parham. And Reed called it. Reed's been watching. Reed noticed.
Back in episode 5 of the Markcast. You go back, check the tape.
Check the tape. Reed complimented this man so much. And look, talent is talent. Talent's going to come and rise to the top. And that's probably a great thing that the XFL gave him that. So we want to congratulate him on his first NFL touchdown. And, San Diego has a great history. Oh, I said San Diego. Oops. The Chargers have a great history when it comes to tight ends. Let me finish my thought here, and then I'll say something else that's funny.
I'm waiting.
That's been going on around here for a while. So, well, probably like a few days. So, San Diego has. Damn it! I keep doing it. It's hard to not say San Diego Chargers. It is difficult. It is so difficult.
Yeah.
The Chargers have a great history with tight ends. Antonio Gates being one of the best tight ends to play the game, and maybe Donald Parham is going to follow in his footsteps. On that note, there are some San Diegans that are really, really mad, bro, because the Chargers Twitter account openly roots for the Dodgers to beat the Padres in the playoffs. And so San Diegans are mad, bro. They're mad.
But San Diegans are got to be like the most passive people in the world. I mean, what do you do in San Diego besides just like chill in the sun? I mean, what do you do?
You have the greatest weather in the world.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do?
I do believe a Seattle summer beats a San Diego summer, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's green in Seattle, it's beautiful. It's slightly better, but I mean, overall, Seattle rains, so of course it's not going to beat San Diego weather. But yeah, Padres fans are mad that the Chargers Twitter account said go like it totally was a dig at the San.
What was there? Because I was tweeting. First off, I was going to say I'm pretty sure when I was complimenting Donald Parham on the podcast, I think you said who. I think you asked me who. No, I'm kidding.
I didn't say that.
But what was there? We were trying to tweet at the Chargers, and they said the hash flag was like bolts up or bolted up, or what was their the Chargers?
Oh yeah. So a coworker said "Go Bolts" on her Twitter account the other day to like support the Chargers, and it had the. Because like when you do a hashtag something, it has a little emoji sometimes.
Hash flag. That's the official.
Called a hash flag.
That's the official. Okay. That thing. I think the whole thing. It's not a hashtag. It's a Twitter calls it a hash flag. That is the official stance of the company. The hash flag is a thing where the icon shows up after your hashtag now, and she put goal bolts, and I'm like, hey, just a heads up, Tampa Bay already won the Stanley Cup. So she's like, what is that? That's ridiculous. So I guess bolt up is their new hash flag. That's fine. But anyway, Donald Parham's killing it. The dude he's a big guy. He's got a big, tearing it down. He did good. So I was happy to see that. I think the Chargers lost though, right? But
they fought though. Justin Herbert is going to be their franchise quarterback. He's great. He's tremendous. But he came out of Oregon. I mean, it's to be expected. So anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to move on to WWE?
The other thing. We talked about Cole Boozer. P. Ramirez, he's one of our. He's a fan. I think he's written a review. He had a question, and I wanted to make sure we talked about this. And I think we covered part of this before the recording snafu. He said, "Do we think that the teams are going to have their players return for those that can and want, or are they going to redraft all the teams?" He is hoping that they keep as many of the original teams as possible. I think that they're going back to the board, across the board. Everything's fresh, especially if you're going to have the potential of like new coaches. What do you think about that? Do you think the players that are still available, do you think that they're going to be coming back to the original teams, or they're just going to redraft?
I think they'll redraft. I don't see any reason why you would make them go back to their the teams that they were on. I mean, I think maybe it's an elective thing where it's like if the team and the player. The team should have the right to hold the player, and then they should agree. And if the player doesn't want to play for the team should let him go. There should be like some amicable way to do that. I think that's maybe the way to go about it. But if the team and the player still want to stay together, don't let them to redraft him. Just say, okay, we're gonna stick with this guy. Sharman Jones is gonna stay in DC. Maybe that's the way to go about it.
But I mean, because it's not like they're locked in. It's not like they like live in it's not like they're living in LA or they're living in Tampa Bay or whatever. I mean, there would be no reason to be like, well, you're actually you're contractually obligated to go back to Seattle. Like they all live wherever they live. They just,
I know you make fun of your boy Brandon Silvers, but would you want him back?
No, I would not. I would not, and I don't. necessarily even want Zorn back. I know we didn't have an offensive caller or an offensive play caller, and Zorn was trying to do like double duty. I don't know. I know Zorn's a Seattle legend, but I don't know if we want Zorn back.
That's a good question that I have then. With the added interest that The Rock brings, are they able to get better coaches? Maybe coaches, and I like Jim Zorn, I really do, but I feel like Jim Zorn's kind of a retread. Like he's failed everywhere in the NFL, and it was kind of like, we're going to go with this guy who's a Seattle legend because he was a quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. Is The Rock going to be able to maybe attract better coaches?
Well, I think so, and that's what they were talking on wherever I heard it. That because Oliver Luck used a lot of pull to get like Bob Stoops and stuff in. Like he had those connections, and I think like even Bob Stoops or Gene Jones, someone they turned him down before. Like Oliver Luck really had to like make an effort. Like he pulled one of the coaches out of retirement. I think the Guardians. Forgive me right now, the names are all.
Keith Gilbride.
Pulled him out of retirement. And so, yeah, I mean, The Rock and them, they're going to have other people. Danny, I mean, they're going to attract different names, and ultimately, that's probably going to be better, right? I mean, it can't be worse to get some new blood in there. So
that's true. So, with that being said, we're moving on.
Dorothy wants us to. I know last week you said, I said like, geez Louise, and you said we need to have a new exclamation when we want to swear on the podcast, but we don't actually want to swear. She recommended barnacles because that's what they say on SpongeBob.
Okay, barnacles it is.
So if we
no more geez Louise,
barnacles,
no more geez Louise.
Just a load of barnacles. I'm going to check that off the to-do list. I had that on there to ask you about, and we did that, and it's barnacles.
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
I do want to talk about this Jimmy Butler thing real quick. Okay. Just tangentially sports related. What does Jimmy Butler get paid per year playing for the Heat?
Let me pull up his contract right now. And while I'm doing that, you can probably vamp a little bit. But Jimmy Butler's a hell of a player.
Yeah, so we were watching the game. I have not watched any NBA this year except for on Sunday when the Heat beat the Lakers for Game 3, I guess it was. But Dorothy had heard about this on NPR and wanted us to talk about it, just kind of making fun of like sports stuff. But so Jimmy Butler, they're in the NBA. They're in the bubble. They're down in Florida. And he has been selling coffee inside the bubble for like $20 a cup, trying to like make a business out of it, trying to make a business out of like selling coffee to the players. And now it's saying that one of his trainers is trying to undercut him. It's a whole economy. It's like the Freakonomics economy inside the NBA bubble.
Jimmy, you make $37 million a year. You have a 4-year, $142 million contract. Why do you need to sell $20 cups of coffee, Jimmy?
He says he could expand the brand after the finals. If the whole basketball thing doesn't work out for Jimmy Butler.
Dude, I love Jimmy Butler, man. 76ers fans hated on him because he didn't re-sign with Sixers and like, we're going to be better off without Jimmy Butler. And now look, Jimmy Butler, I'm going to say it, by the time this airs, Jimmy Butler will have lost in the NBA Finals to the Los Angeles Lakers. It's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then the Lakers, have become the Golden State Warriors of 2020. But from where I stand, from where I sit, the Lakers are going to win by the time this podcast airs. Jimmy Butler's still in a way better spot with Miami than he was in Philadelphia. So I love Jimmy Butler. I love his game. I love his intensity. I think he's great, but he probably needs to stay out of this coffee thing because he's already making $37 million a year. Let it go.
If you look at this, so this is a tweet from Ira Winderman, and it's he's verified. I don't know, but he says it's like the whiteboard from Jimmy Butler's coffee, and it says big face coffee, cash only, no IOUs, small $20, medium $20, large $20. But you can get a latte, you can get a pour over, cappuccino, Americano, espresso, a red eye, a mocha,
flat white,
a macchiato, and a cafe au lait. So there you go.
All for $20.
$20.
Everything's for $20.
It's like when McDonald's did the like dollar, like whatever size drink you want, it's $1.
Look, I was just about to say that. Thank you, Reed.
But like that made sense because then it was like just however thirsty you are, like whatever you want. If you're really thirsty, if you're not so thirsty.
But if you have $1 and you can get a large for $1.
Yes, I would
get a small.
Why would you ever? No.
Who does that?
Sharman Jones would get a small.
Sharman Jones would get a small.
He would be like, I'm really not that thirsty.
Were you more disappointed with the XFL not returning until 2022, or the fact that Mustafa Ali, which I see no money in, is the leader of Retribution?
So this is true. I listened to the PW Torch, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Live cast on Monday. Wade Keller is the biggest Mustafa Ali mark in the world. Like,
why?
He goes, everything you would ever want to see in a wrestler, like Mustafa Ali has it all. He's got personality. He's got charisma. He goes, this is all true. Wade Keller thinks, he goes, if there were fans in the building and not like the Thunderdome with the TVs and whatever, because WWE doesn't have fans right now. It's all the Thunderdome. It's like the Skype viewers. He thinks that if Mustafa Ali had come out as the leader of Retribution with fans, it would have been like a huge crowd face pop and not like this heel turn that it's supposed to be.
I don't think so.
Well, I don't think so either.
Here's what I think. When they started push Mustafa Ali and then Mustafa Ali got injured, fans were cheering for him because it was someone different than the people they always push. And then when Mustafa Ali got injured, that feeling of them pushing someone the fans hadn't seen pushed, combined with the fact that Kofi Kingston had done so much for so long and hadn't got a push, that is what started Kofi Mania. And maybe Wade's basing his gauge on that, but if Ali had gone to WrestleMania and wrestled for the title, the fans wouldn't have been as behind it as they were Kofi wrestling for the title at WrestleMania.
Well, and I wasn't even that big into Kofi, but the whole deal with Kofi Kingston was, he's been in WWE for like 12 years, had never had a title, had never had a major title, had never had whatever. And they finally pushed him and he won. They was that 2 years ago they pushed him?
Yeah.
And, and he won and it was supposed to be this big deal. But yeah, even that I'm all for giving guys pushes that deserve it. I would rather see Kofi with the title than Roman Reigns. Just because it's someone different. Ultimately, like I said, I think you can put enough. I said it last week. I think you can put enough money behind a lot of different guys and make him as big a star as Roman Reigns is.
Right, but I think this thing with Roman Reigns now is we've never seen Roman Reigns as a heel champion.
Well, you are all into Roman now.
I'm not all in, but I like the story. I think it's probably the best thing they've done with him. You have to admit, it's probably the second best thing they've done with him. The first being the initial Shield. When he came out as the initial member of the Shield, that was probably the best thing they did with him. It's interesting that the best things they do with Roman involve him being a bad guy.
Well, and also having more talented people around him to prop him up. Paul Heyman.
That's true. Let's be honest. Jey Uso is a better talker than Roman Reigns.
Yes,
much better talker. And you would think that I feel like Paul Heyman being joined with Roman Reigns is helping Roman Reigns because Paul Heyman can talk too. Paul Heyman is the best talker now in the business. Yeah. No one can dispute this.
Yeah, that's
when I'm talking about active talkers. You've got The Rock and you've got Steve Austin who can talk. Who can talk even an Eskimo into buying ice. You got those kinds of guys, but currently active, Paul Heyman's the best talker in the business. So if you have him working with Roman, it works because Paul can teach Roman how to talk.
Whenever I think about Steve Austin, I always think about, because Steve's got his podcast. I'm Steve Austin now here at the Broken Skull Ranch. I got my deer perch.
I was at the deer perch.
I'm like, Steve he is a redneck. He's a good guy, but he is a highest drawer in the history of in WWE, but he is a redneck. I saw it equated that Mustafa Ali being named as the leader of Retribution is like if X-Pac was when he was like the leader of DX. And
that was an accurate analogy. That would exactly be what it is. Because I just don't see any money. I don't see any money in the Retribution thing anymore. Because it's just, we've seen this. We've gone through this before. We've done this.
Yeah.
We did it with your boys, the Nexus. It seemed very Nexus-like what they were doing. And I don't have any money in it.
No.
And I didn't watch anything else on wrestling. I was so out of the loop this week. I'm just.
Yeah, no, that I saw that. That's a big thing right now. And then you have Randy Orton, and okay, they're going to do Hell in the Cell. That's just snooze fest. It's fine. They don't want to have someone else new for Drew to wrestle right now. But I mean, this retribution thing, you have a lot of talented guys there, and I just think they don't know how to push anybody anymore. This isn't the way to do it. And I think that, I don't know. It's bad. I think it's really bad.
I think it's good. My omelet's sitting there waiting for me, so I'm going to go eat that.
Wait, like Uber Eats?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
been for like 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. I saw you getting a little antsy. I was like,
I'm hungry. Like we discussed before we're recording. I'm having some blood sugar issues as of late because I've been burning the candle at both ends. No mean to give you guys like violate my own health privacy act, whatever, HIPAA. But yeah, I'm not. I haven't been feeling my best early in the morning. So Reed's going to let me go eat my omelet. We thank you for listening to the XFL Markcast. We have to plug some websites, though. Go for it, Reed.
We need our reviews still. RateThisPodcast.com/XFL. We're giving away free masks. I don't know if we had 5 last week. I don't know if we had any new ones come in this week, which is a little disappointing. Free masks. I do think it's kind of a political thing. I think people don't want to like review or they don't want to do the thing because the masks, and like, I don't care. We're just trying to get reviews, but the masks are sick. They're cool. They're net gaiters. You got to wear one anyway. So you might as well like have an XFL Markcast one. But yeah, xflshow.com/YouTube, and we'll get to 100 and we'll give away the shirts. And Paul's got the Wildcats now on Twitter, on his Twitter bio. So I say mission complete for the day. I'm good.
Yeah, I did that to cheer you up.
That's good. Yeah, we had a good 10 minutes.
When I did that? Were you happy when I did that?
I was happier than when I realized that I didn't record the first 10 minutes of the podcast again.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks. Later.